Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. We've had many reasons in the past for not doing everything in bloom on the 8th, actually on the 8th. The most frequent one is because it occurs on a Sunday, and I prefer to do the Sunday morning chat and either do everything in bloom on the 8th a day early or a day late. There have been other times because I've been at a show or something like that and it hasn't been able to be done on the actual day, the 8th. But we've got the best reason of all for not doing it yesterday on the 8th is because I completely forgot. It didn't enter my head until the first comment came up against the video that I did do yesterday saying, isn't it the 8th? And I thought, oh hell. It just went. Sorry, I didn't associate the day with the date, basically. I mean, that's what it's like when every day's the same. Anyway, apologies. The problem is the video I did do yesterday, we did look at an awful lot of the stuff that is in bloom simply because I was trying to work out which is going to be the best thing to send to the virtual orchid show. So you've seen most of it, basically. But we'll go over it formally, as we usually do, with plant name pop-ups. And yeah, which way round I go doesn't actually matter that much. Now you'll have to apologise, I should have waited for later in the day when the light would have been absolutely brilliant because it's a nice day today, but unfortunately the huge tree out the back is being got at by men with chainsaws, and at the moment they're having a coffee break. So I'm just grabbing a bit of silence. It's the first, you know, the chainsaws are quite an overriding noise, so not so good. So we'll get on with it. If they come back part way through this and the noise is just too much, then I'll stop and then hope they have a lunch break at some point. Right, we'll start over here. I think this is the first time ever I don't have a Restrepia with a bloom on. Well, that's incredibly unusual. Mind you, they are difficult to film. Now, this one we looked at yesterday. This is Dendrobium Memoria, Christa, Erdmann. And over here, the pink doesn't show up very well. It looks more like a dirty white. But it is a delicate pink with the deepest gold. Now this type of dendrobium, there is a class, you know, the dendrobium sections, sorry, the dendrobium sections which contain some or many different species. This particular section, this is its trait. It tends to have long, arching, pendulous spikes from near the top of the cane, not necessarily the apex, but near the top of the cane. Many, many blooms. They tend to open together. The blooms develop, the spikes develop fast. You can almost see them grow if you stood there and watched. The blooms open almost all on the same day, and they don't last long. That's their downside. They are beautiful to look at and put on quite a show, especially if you get a plant with spikes coming out all round it. But short-lived. And in my case, the ones I've got, no fragrance either. Nonetheless, as I say, this will probably be the last time you'll, I don't know though, depends on postie, doesn't it? Because this actually belongs to somebody else at the moment, but I can't get it posted, so they'll have to enjoy the blooms here. Oh, there goes the old chainsaw again. I don't think it's that bad. I think I'll carry on, because if they're going to stop and start all morning, I'm never going to get this done. Moving up here, we've got Dendrobium senile. We had quite a good look at that yesterday. Now the plant itself, if I can get it down, is just coming into growth. It has actually dropped a lot of its leaves in the winter from previous growths. The blooms are currently coming out of 2 leafless canes. And there's another odd bloom over here. And that is strange because that cane, you see where the root's coming out halfway up the cane, there's a little stump. It bloomed there last year. And now it's put out another bud on the same cane. That's good to know. But all the other blooms are over on these 2 canes. Those are the 2, probably the largest, most mature canes, along with that one over there. But what we've got now is several new growths starting, which is good. It needs them. There's one coming out there on the very edge of the plant, heading downwards. Another one coming out there. Another one in the middle. And there's another one in the middle there, but you'll have a job to see that. That one's tiny. So we've got 4 or 5 new growths coming, which is good. And the fact that it's got reasonable roots in under that lot, I'm hoping that those will grow on to good sized canes this year. But blooms are looking good. That's a definite contender to go to the virtual orchid show. So that's that one. Coming round here, we haven't got anything here. We've got a reasonable amount of dendrobiums out at the moment, but it is mainly their time of year. So coming round here, the anosmum up here is just going. I would say in another 2 days there won't be a bloom left on that spike, and there aren't any more to come. So that one is just starting a new growth, but only just. And as far as I can see, only one. The Dendrobium Nestor, I believe that opened around the same time. I'm not sure. That's still looking quite good. I can see that the blooms are starting to go, but they're still hanging in there. If you look down here, there are some that are folding. Once they fold, they're on their way out. They fold up day 1, day 2, they're on the floor. They drop unceremoniously on the deck. The hercoglossum we had quite a good look at yesterday. These blooms on hercoglossum come into their own if you can get underneath them and get some light to shine through them. Like that. I don't know whether that's enough light. But they're very, very delicate little blooms. And they're difficult to position, but if you can get some bright light above them and look up at them, they really are delicate. And lots of them. I mean, that's a mass blooming, that's good stuff. See what I mean? Anosmum blooms. They'll all be on the floor tomorrow, I expect. And then in the distance there is Chrysotoxum, but that's the last spike, and those blooms have gone, so I'm not counting that one. We're not going to do that. But we will do the Epidendrum. Now, although the plant looks a bit of a mess, it's not getting any worse. And it is blooming quite nicely. This spike here has not got lots of buds in the centre. That's unusual. This one hasn't as well. It's only got one left to go. However, this one looks more normal. That's what they normally look like. Cluster of blooms with a cluster of buds, and they keep growing. As the buds open, more buds come up the middle. That's their normal style. But this isn't a strong plant at the moment, so it's doing the best it can, which isn't bad. I was expecting it to die, quite honestly, but it didn't. It hung in there. Right, coming over here, it's Tolumnias. Some of these are starting to go now as well, but some of those that are going have got more buds to come. This little one here didn't open its blooms properly this time round. In fact, there is one bloom on it that's actually as it should be, which is the one in the top left of the shot now. If you look at the others, they either haven't opened properly or they're slightly deformed. That's a weak plant. It's never been a good grower for me, that one. It was one of the rescue ones from when they all got remounted when they had bad scale. This one is gorgeous. I really like this one. This is its first time blooming as well. This was one of the Christmas lot that were, as a batch of 10 from a reputable nursery, quite honestly, you'd have to say they were a miserable failure. Because Lynn had 5 and I had 5. And I think out of the 10, there's either 4 or 5 that are still with us. They just were not good plants. It seemed that each set of 5 had 2 reasonable plants and 3 rubbish ones. Anyway, I've managed to keep 2 of mine going, I think. But that's one of them anyway. And then this one over here has got 3 spikes. This spike here needs to come off because those blooms are on their last legs now, and there's no branches on there, so I'll give that part of the plant a rest, which will be handy because there's the new growth coming out of the base of the one that this spike is on, so that will push the energy into that new growth. This one over here, this spike, that's got no branch as well. But those blooms have still got about a week before they fade, so we'll keep those. And then this one over here is opening the branches. So out of the 3 spikes on the one plant, only one of them branched. That's unusual for Tolumnias. But yeah, so this needs trimming. Let the buds on the branches open, and then that spike will come off too. Right, coming round here, this is where they get in a muddle. Oh, that's flipping. I hope that's mealybugs and not scale again. So the white just shows up. Let's get some on my finger. Difficult to say whether that's crawlers or mealybugs, but whatever it is, hopefully they are X. So you have to bear in mind, if they're on the flower spike, they probably come from down below somewhere. Once they get in the crevices, they get in there. You follow the leaf down to where the next leaf comes out. In that join, that's where they get. And they will destroy the base of the plant if they're left there any length of time. And the fan will just collapse and all the leaves will die and drop off. So they don't, you know, they really do take down Tolumnias. Oh, it's just a dead bud. Right, so this this is the golden Sunray sunrise. Is it that way round? Yes, because we've got one plant hanging down and one plant sticking up. And this will be the last set of blooms now. These are branches. The bloom that's out is on a previous branch. There's a branch come out of the branch with one bud on, and then another branch down below with 3 or 4 buds to come. And then that will be the end on that one. But it's been out a very long time with multiple spikes branching nicely. Very attractive blooms. The veining with the coloration on the base of the plant bloom is absolutely gorgeous. So that's that one. And then up here is the Tolumnia Peach. And what we've got here, what we've got left here, is a spike that needs to come off. That's its last bloom and no more branches, so that one can come off and give that section of the plant a rest. This one, this branch here is still looking good. This one is gone. I suspect those would drop in my hand if I help them. Yes. Oops. Along with that one. Otherwise they only fall on the floor if I don't grab them. Yes, so that one's on its last legs, but the blooms are still looking good. And then over here we've got branches opening in various stages. One's just opened there, hasn't got any colour yet. This one's recently opened. So yes, but again, that was 3 spikes on a single plant, so that one did well. Down here we've got the relatively new Latoria type, relatively new acquisition there. I can never remember what it's called, but tucked in round the back there is that tag. There's a novelty, and it's one of mine as well. Right, it is, I know it's got rhodosticttum in it, but it is eximium crossed with rhodosticttum. Rhodosticttum is one of my favourite Latorias. It just has an unusual shape to the bloom, which I really like. But anyway, the blooms need to be held up to see their true shape. Yeah, these blooms have been on here quite a while. I don't know how much longer they're going to stay. There's no new spikes. But last time I looked, I think there was one new growth starting at the base. Plus we've got the others that were already on there that have still got the paler leaves. They're maturing. I won't miss Hibiki out, even though it's only got one very old bloom on it. It's a bloom at the end of the day, and we've got to do something with this plant now. I've got to lift this out and find out if all these new growths, let's get some light in there somewhere, of which there are just many, if they are starting new roots, then this can come out of this cocoa media stuff. But it's chucking new growths up all over the place. And I want to take advantage of that and get it either in a potting media that I want or mount it. Now the last one did very well on its mount until it got that infection on the leaves that just took it down, which is why I got rid of it and replaced it with this one. So we'll see how that goes. But I'll have to lift it out of its pot. Right, over here, we had a good look at that yesterday, the apple blossom, and the difference it makes getting it up here in the light, the colour, and the almost translucent effect is not apparent if it's in a darker place. Again, it's another one of those that if you look at it with the brighter light behind the blooms, they look better. But that is looking good. When I said about this going to the virtual orchid show, because I could just take a picture of the blooms, it's all very well having 6 blooms on there, but I can't get 6 blooms in a photo because 2 of them are facing that way. Yeah? So although I could do it in a video by going round, in a photo, the best I can do is those 4. And the other 2 would show through the gaps, but would not be in shot. Overnight, that Cattleya has done its thing. So it has ceased to be. And if I hadn't helped those 2 blooms, they'd have all been off. So that's done now, but that's been in bloom a lovely long time, and it's been a good splash of a really nice shade of orange. This one will be following it very soon, because this is, I think, the 3rd spike on here. And it's the weakest of the spikes on quite a weak pseudobulb actually, but it bloomed. Again, a lovely deep orange, but there won't be any more blooms on here now for some time because this needs to come back into growth now, and there are none that I can see at the moment, so we're quite a long way off seeing that bloom again now. Probably this time next year in reality, might be a bit sooner, but yep, so that's that one. We've got none of the little phalaenopsis are out this time because they always get missed, but they're not in bloom at the moment. The only spike that was on there had a single bloom which I took off. Decided to give it a break from blooming. That spike had been on there about 6 months, you know, kept extending and extending, and no new leaves. So I thought we'll give it a rest. Right, my Coelogyne is still looking good and still smelling good. It's good fragrance on that. Very delicate blooms on here. If you can catch them in some, well, virtual sunlight I suppose you'd have to call it, but some very bright light, they sparkle, really do sparkle. So I'm just trying to get that flipping nocturnum out of the way, wherever it is in the flipping way. But yes, so these, the sparkles on the white petals and sepals are really, really pronounced on this one, but you have to just catch it right in the light. I don't know how in focused I am in this amount of light, but something that's not necessarily obvious when you're looking at these blooms is, let's see if I can find one that I can isolate. That one's probably the best one, but I don't know how in focus I can get. If you look at the yellow markings, they're outlined with orange both inside the lip, yeah, and on the lip, and the markings on the lip are in effect 2 hearts next to each other. I don't know whether you can see that, but they're 2 heart shapes touching down one side, so unusual sort of shape to show up. And then we've got this one round here, which yesterday was partly open. We had 2 of this, one spike pushing on well, another one just starting, and this one was buds yesterday. Now you can see what I mean about them all opening together. Yesterday, none of those blooms were open on that spike. They were all buds. And today, every single one of them is opening. So that's how this type of section in the dendrobiums actually works. And this one, this is the farmeri cross with griffithianum, is pure white with the deepest yellow. As again, we filmed that and had a good look at that yesterday. So that's that. Up above my head, I'm going to get it down actually because I can't film up there. We've got the last 2 blooms on this little nobly dendrobium. And those are not long for the world. There's a lot of blooms do that when they start to fail. Let me put that somewhere where it will stay still. Oh, that's too low. I'll have to come up here. Yes. That's still no good. Oh, trouble positioning things. Right, there we go. When a Dendrobium bloom fails, as you know, you get 3 sepals. They normally go straight up and, you know, then at like a triangle. Those were the bud once upon a time. And then you get your lip and your 2 petals. And when these types of blooms start to go, the petals move forward and start to close like that, whereas the sepals stay where they are. So that's a sign that you haven't got many more days to go. And there won't be many more days on there. And that's the last of the buds on that one. So I was going to say now this one needs to get on and grow, but it's already doing it. We've got 1, 2, 3 strong new growths coming up on there. So that's not bad, not bad. Haven't had that one long. That was a present from somebody a while back. I think that was what we call an unexpected gift. Just turned up out the blue. And then we've got this one here. If this one is going to go in the show, I think I need to get the photo of it today, because these, I don't know how long these are going to last. This is a new plant for me. And if they start to go, I've lost the opportunity, because once they start to fade, they will show in the photo. So I need to get the photo taken on this one. And while we're on that subject, what I'm going to do is the plants that are possible to go to the virtual orchid show, I'm going to take the photos and then I'll bring them back into a video for you to see the actual photos I'm going to send off. And then I might even do it as a vote. I've never set up a vote on YouTube, but apparently it's not that difficult. So I might give you the opportunity to vote for your favourite. It's difficult. Is it your favourite that should be pushed forward, or the one that's most likely to get the most points? After all, it is a competition. Yeah? Favourites can live at home with you. That's different. So the actual criteria for putting them into the show is a different set of, you know, thoughts, really. Anyway, I may be able to do that. The Kuniko is down to its last cluster now, till it decides to push out some more. Oh, which it's promptly doing. There's one there. I was just going to say, it's unusual for there not to be any, but it's got one there anyway. The way these bloom is they just use nodes every now and again on the same cane. So, you know, they're just another node comes out and decides to bloom. Anyway, that's a Victoria Regina cross with something or other, but that's the last cluster that's going to have blooms that we can look at for some time now, because these are going, see, they close and then they drop. So this is the last one on here for a while, but by the time we get to the next Everything in Bloom in the 8th, these may well be open. They may not. We shall see. Right, scanning round. The last 2 then. Oh, we forgot the big bush. I went straight past it. That's because it's on the floor, and so are the buds. Only 4 buds so far. These are lovely blooms. They're very waxy. They're also quite fragrant, with a very lovely sweet fragrance on there, like honey. But these are the only buds I've had this year on this one. We had a lot more last year. There may be more buds to come later, because this bush lives on the floor now. I don't tend to look at it very much. I just chuck water on it now and again. But yeah, they are attractive. So I'm just trying to get, there's a cane that just won't get out of the way. It's about to get broken off if it doesn't move. But yeah, attractive and fragrant too. And only 4, and one of those is going. Actually, one of those has been eaten by something, by the looks of it. Ugh. I hope we haven't got little chewing slidey creatures. You do without those. Right, and then the last 2 are the 2 Masdevallias, which I brought out because they're in bloom. This is, it's got no ID basically. It's just a hybrid I got. I got this a long time ago with some other hybrids, and I made, in my notes, I described the colours of the blooms. Of course, then they didn't bloom for ages, and I lost the tags, didn't I? And I lost most of the plants, come to think of it. But this plant has hung in there, and it's decided to bloom. It's extended this spike to produce another bud, and it's got another one coming out here. So that'll hopefully be 3 Masdevallia blooms on the same plant, and that hasn't happened in here for a long time. The only mass blooming I've ever had on a Masdevallia was one called, I think it was called Snow White or White Snow or something along those lines, and it did have pure white blooms. Smaller than that, but medium sized, I'd say. And that had 20 something blooms on it, and it went out to play at the Ellingham show, which is a country fair which we used to do a display at, mainly to try and rustle up customers, because it was in a town on the outskirts of a town called Ringwood, which is only about 5 miles from Bournemouth. So it would be an ideal place to try and get some new members, which was the idea. We never got many, but but we don't bother anymore because it didn't work. But yeah, that Masdevallia went out to play there, which was only a 1-day event, and it came back unhappy, and it never bloomed again, and eventually it just died. I got rid of it. So, and then the last one is the Masdevallia ignea. And this is like a little bit of upset, really, because this is my daughter's absolute favourite colours. She actually bought one of these. She persuaded somebody at the RHS show in London to part with one of their display plants. A little bit of a con, because the display plant was absolutely stunning. They agreed a price, and then he took one of the 3 pots out. So it wasn't one plant, it was 3. All clustered together to make a nice display. So she didn't get what she thought she was getting, but she so wanted to try and grow it, but it didn't live. I didn't expect it to in her flat. Too warm and too dry. So, but she would love to see that bloom, you know. But we're stuck. We can't meet. She can't come down. So that's how it has to be, and for some time, I think, too. Right. So there we go. Everything in bloom on the 8th, and what we'll have on the 8th next month, I really don't know. Most of what we've just looked at will be long gone. Certainly in the Dendrobium area. Anosmum Nestor, probably senile. Lindleyi definitely. These 2, the griffithianum farmeri crosses, they'll be long gone. If you take those out, and some of the Tolumnias are on their way, you take those away, don't leave a lot, does it? And there aren't loads of buds coming. They're just not there. But maybe we'll have this as a star performer next time, the Brassia. Maybe. Wait and see. Okay, thanks for dropping by, and see you next time. As I said, sorry this wasn't yesterday, and sorry we actually looked at quite a few of the blooms yesterday, but nonetheless, you know, it happens. Can't get it right all the time. And I'll see you next time. Bye for now.